let's get into some nerdy news.
Yes,
We've got
quite a bit.
Yeah, quite an array of bits as well.
Yeah.
Rumors from Daniel RPK, the solo journalist on Twitter, suggests any projects between Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars will take place on Battleworld. Now, when we get closer to this, I'm going to do a number of bits about what you need to know coming up to Secret Wars. But right now, Secret Wars takes place on Battleworld, which is a kind of an amalgamation of a bunch of random crap. Basically, it was created just to be an awesome place for fights to take place. So that would mean Doomsday kind of ends with everyone getting transported to Battleworld, and any film that takes place in between happens on Battleworld. That would be fucking lit.
Yeah,
like, conceptually, that's really cool.
It is, and it also allows them a lot of freedom if that's how they set it up, because it's like, yeah, you can do some stuff that you probably couldn't have got away with very well with the current stories.
But also, if they're like, this character is in position A right now, we need them to be in position B before Secret Wars. You're like, right, here's a film. We can use this to develop this character to where we need them for the next film, so that you don't get another Professor Hulk situation where everyone's like,
yes,
he couldn't transform, and now they're one. It's like, I would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah.
Robert Kirkman, showrunner for Invincible,
yes,
says that the goal of Invincible is 7 to 8 seasons, as this would get them to the end of the comic run, according to Game Radar. This is what we discussed at the end of season 2. I said, I think based on what they're doing with the comics, that we should get like 7 or 8 seasons. So it's good to know my maths checks out, which is always nice. One thing that did concern me slightly, however, is that he said if Amazon are still happy with them and they're still having fun, they might go longer. And that's when you enter some dangerous territory.
I think
we've just finished discussing.
Yeah, I think if they have like direction from the original comic of like how to keep the story going, and it's not just their freeballing it, I think it could work okay. But again, like we discussed in the previous segment, like you don't want to overdo it and kill it off purely because you're having fun.
More franchise turmoil, not for DC or Marvel or Star Wars for a change though. Games Workshop investor report has suggested that Henry Cavill's Warhammer 40k project won't happen unless an agreement on creative guidelines is established with Amazon by December of this year.
If I throw you back, I'm pretty sure it was in a previous news segment a month or so ago now that I mentioned that there was rumors around the Warhammer project and Henry Cavill was maybe not happy, and there was a crossroad of direction. This leans heavily into that being true. The rumor back then was, and I presume it's still the same rumor, and actually what's going on, Amazon wants diversity in their shows. They essentially forced Workshop's hand to write into the law females being part of a certain Legion of Soldiers that were notoriously have always been written as they are brothers, they are all men. There is plenty of legions in Warhammer world where there is factions of women that are badass, but apparently Amazon didn't like them because they were too religious focused. Sorry, but Warhammer 40k is all about religion. That is the world you are trying to make a show in. Henry Cavill, we know him very well, always stands up for the core material. He did it in Witcher. We know that was a problem in Witcher for him.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me if he's now being told, oh, he's seen that these changes are being pushed onto Games Workshop, and he's like, no, that's not the law. Why are you trying to change this? And now he's like, I ain't doing it unless you agree to let me do it properly. Yeah,
and like, before anyone gets fucking weird in the comments, this isn't about Amazon trying to make Warhammer woke. Don't make it a woke thing. This is just them not going, okay, we can have diversity within the universe as it already exists. And that's the actual issue here.
Yeah,
it's not like Warhammer was made by a bunch of incels 60 years ago and there's no women. In that case, you'd kind of be like, okay, yeah, cool. Find a faction that makes sense and change it a little bit. there is already room for these characters to exist.
Yeah,
Within the universe as it exists.
There's some pretty badass like female factions, but it's like apparently they were too religious in a world that is notoriously a religious based story. Yeah,
but being from the investors report, this is also going to be very accurate to the truth, even if it doesn't give details. Purely because it's an investors report. If they've knowingly lied in this, they open themselves up to a fuck ton of lawsuits. And I remember not that long ago, I don't know if it made it into the No News Network or not, Games Workshop had like announced like record profits. They'd had a really good year. They'd given employees like bonuses and stuff. A good employer on the surface, it seems anyway. So in their investor report, them being honest and going, this show isn't going to happen, because an Amazon show would open Games Workshop up to a lot of investment.
Yeah,
and they don't want people investing assuming this show's going to happen, so they have to go, this show is not going to happen if we don't set guidelines by December, by the way.
I think the issue is probably Amazon's pushing this on Games Workshop. Games Workshop obviously wants this show to happen because they know it's good for investment, but Henry Cavill's standing strong for probably actually what the Games Workshop like OGs stand for, but can't necessarily stand against Amazon because it's like it jeopardizes the deal.
Yeah.
So Henry Cavill's doing it, but yeah, hopefully it gets sorted.
The Last of Us Season 2 teaser got released.
Yes, it did.
Another Pedro Pascal classic. We're coming into a decade of Pascal, it seems.
Yeah, with Gladiator 2 as well.
Gladiator 2, Last of Us, Fantastic Four, Grogan.
Oh, no.
My man is not having a day off from now until 2031.
I'm okay with
on
it.
God. On God. The teaser trailer really didn't show much, but it's exciting. Season 1 was really, really good. And the good news for Pedro is he won't have too much to do with Season 2, so he'll be able to skip out pretty early.
Yeah.
Disney Plus have announced a price hike of $2 with their ad-free and ads plan.
Yeah.
This news broke 24 hours before it was announced that Disney Plus had finally been profitable for the first time ever.
It's wild.
In all fairness to the multi-billion-dollar corporation that I despise, it does seem like their profitable couple of months was due to two of the biggest films of the decade in Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine. People wanting to see the films that came before, which were available on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Because Inside Out 2's at like 1.5 billion now. Deadpool and Wolverine's expected to cross 1 billion this weekend. And people are like, oh, I'd like to watch the Wolverine films and the Deadpool films and Inside Out. But announcing another price hike, their fifth in 4 years, and they're now double the price that it was when it started, while also announcing that you've been profitable for the first time, is not the best ever way of handling something.
No, and I also said to you when this came out that it feels to me very much like everyone, for example, everyone knows Prime Day deals. Companies put their price up before Prime Day, drop them for Prime Day. We know Disney Plus is going to be doing a bundle where it's going to be cheaper if you get the three of us together. To raise their prices right before just feels like a push to be like, oh, well, we'll do this now. Then the bundle comes out and it seems like an even better deal. More people sign up. To that, we actually get more people signed up than we would have done just normally.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's just classic manipulation for marketing in my eyes.
I agree. Now, fun bit of news. There is apparently, hush hush, a secret Marvel animation project that is apparently in the works. Apparently, they've already invested $19 million into this project. I'm so curious. What I'm hoping for, and I don't think this is what it is, because I'm not that lucky, is a Marvel animated universe. That would kind of make sense for that large an investment, why they're keeping it quiet. It might not be due to launch until like post-reboot in like 2027. And then they're like, right, we have now got live action, and then for you comic book nerds who are always unhappy with the films, we're gonna do like comic book straight to animation over here.
I think we talked about it when X-Men 97 was coming out, and we had the Captain America cameo. And we mentioned from after episode, like, oh, what other animated shows? It wouldn't surprise me if it is a project that is going to essentially tie into that X-Men 97 world because of how successful it's been. But it's something like an Avengers or maybe a Fantastic Four, but I doubt it because the film's coming out. Yeah. It's going to be something on the same level, I think, of X-Men 97 and tie into, like, I think they're going to make that, like, almost like you're saying with an animated universe, potentially ties into that.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Could be very cool. Daredevil animated?
I'd love a Daredevil animated show so much. Oh, do you know what I actually would love? Just an animated New York show where they just let, like, each episode is just a random one of the New York heroes from Marvel doing something. So there'll be like Spider-Man episodes and Daredevil episodes and Fantastic Four episodes and Jessica Jones episodes and Heroes for Hire episodes. And yeah, they're all cutting about in New York.
Yeah,
there's fucking loads of them. Just get them cutting about doing stuff. Speaking of animation, animation workers are getting ready to strike for better treatment from studios amid concerns primarily around AI protections and pay, as well as being overworked. That kind of comes into the pay bit, but it's not just you're underpaying us how much work we're doing, which they are. It's also you're asking me as an individual to do too much work while underpaying me for it.
From the posts that they've put out about organizing this, like they've mentioned the writers struck, got their answers or got what they wanted. The actors did it. They took back in the day, the animators went on strike because they were the main like they were the lifeblood of Disney back in the day.
Yeah.
And they went on strike and got many of the benefits that the animators have today. It's just the same thing. We always will support this. The fact that as well, we've seen these studios have cut jobs. We know they're always they're hiring people in AI fields. They're looking into AI. Obviously, it's a big discussion around that, and that's a separate thing. But yeah, I'm all for the animators getting protection from AI and that kind of side of things.
Put it this way, I'm not someone to claim that my opinion on something is never ever going to change. But send me this clip if you ever catch me defending multi-billion-dollar corporations from their employees. Because it would have to be some pretty fucking extenuating circumstances for me to realistically ever go, I'm going to stand with the billionaire over the individuals here.
When I'm a billionaire, I'll make sure to make you stand with me.
I would curb stomp Hori if he's a shitty billionaire. Let that be known. Bite the curb, bitch. Yeah, we're always gonna back creative strikes, all kind of strikes. If you're the means of production, there's no reason you shouldn't own the thing or whatever the phrase is. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I said it back when the actors were striking. I was like, hopefully the animators and stuff get together and get their day, because we knew back then they were also getting treated poorly. So I'm glad that they've managed to come together.
At the end of the day, right now, animators are being given 16 hours of work. They're being paid for 8 hours, and they're being told to do it in 4. That is the situation, essentially. And they're going, that ain't going to run while you're also firing us and trying to use AI.
Yeah.
So stand by your animated studios right now. We got to support them here because I care about this stuff, and I hope the people who make it get the treatment they deserve. Because guess what? Without animators, we don't get our shows. Without Bob Iger, we still get our shows. You find out where you'd rather have the money going.
Yeah.
I said this earlier, but it is also a bullet point on here. Deadpool Wolverine is expected to cross $1 billion this weekend.
Yeah.
I believe the estimates are for its entire box office run that it's going to finish about 1.3, 1.4.
It's wild.
It has now gone past I don't know if this already happened last week, but it's already gone past what's the film about Christ?
Oh,
R-rated Christ film.
I know what
The
you
Passion of the
mean.
Christ.
Yeah, Passion of the Christ.
Passion of the Christ was the highest grossing R-rated movie in US, domestically in America ever, at 370 million for 20 plus years, and Deadpool and Wolverine overtook that.
Marvel Jesus.
This film is a whole other level.
We have a new Christ
Yeah.
called Marvel Jesus.
If this, I believe, I don't know if it's already there yet, but if it crosses 1 billion, it will be the second biggest film of the year, only beside Inside Out 2. And once again, Inside Out 2 was made by Animators, biggest film of the year. Maybe pay Animators fairly. Blade is reportedly in a limbo state.
Now, this is going to be absolutely huffing the copium, but I am going to say this isn't a big as worry as it has been. I think the limbo state is there is a good script written. Finally, they just haven't locked in their director yet because we know they were looking for a new director. I don't think this is necessarily like a terrible thing. Yes, obviously it's not good. It's in limbo after all this time. But
shall I huff even more copium than you?
Go on.
I think this leak is actually part of the film takes place in limbo, and it's been misunderstood. It's not in a limbo state. It's just there's a scene in the film that takes place in limbo. That is me huffing copium.
Yeah, I think realistically, they're happy with the script now. They just need a director for that, and
I really hope so.
They haven't got one. They might be talking to a few. They just haven't locked one in yet, and obviously they can't start it till that's done.
One of my favourite casting decisions in the MCU is Mahershala Ali as Blade.
Being squandered.
He was announced as Blade 5 years ago. Tree, my man. Here's the thing. I know that this man will cook. I do not understand how you're struggling to make a film about the badass vampire hunter. Like, how is that difficult? Surely that is one of the easiest stories to write.
Who knows?
I'm at a loss. I need them to hurry up and fix this because Mahershala Ali is amazing, and we've already lost 5 years of him in his prime to get this shit done, and I feel bad for the guy.
I hope this goes down as like the biggest redemption story of the MCU. Purely because it's like everyone signed it off as like, oh, this has been a mess. And then it comes out and it's the absolute banger of a film it needed to be.
Has any film ever been in this much production hell and stuck the landing, though?
I'm sure there is. There's got to be.
The closest I think we've come is Channing Tatum finally getting to play Gambit.
I mean, he stuck the landing.
He did, but it wasn't in his own film.
I'll still take it.
Warner Brothers Discovery have revealed that their TV networks are worth 9.1 billion less than they originally thought,
which resulted in a 10-point-something billion loss for quarter 3.
See, here's the thing. What that means is it was quarter 2 as well, I believe, actually. But that's irrelevant. Yeah. I think that just means like the company has lost 10 billion of value in quarter 2, and 9.1 billion of that is from them But I don't understand how you over egg your business by 9 billion. How do you sit there? Like, how does someone whose job it is go, I think this is worth X amount, and then a year later, 6 months later, whatever it is, go, oh, I was off by a factor of 9 billion.
So my understanding
of how this podcast is actually worth 9 billion.
Well, my understanding of how valuations work is a lot of the time it's based on how much a share sells for. Now,
that'll be for WBD in general, though, not just their TV networks.
But so somehow someone's valued a portion of it. Well, because they will never sit down and do the whole thing because that's too accurate. They'll have taken like a portion and gone, we think this is about this value and this is this percent of Warner Brothers TV. Therefore, it is valued at this.
I do think a fair bit of this would be due to them not being able to sell ads as easily on TV in the last year. And a big portion of how much TV network is worth is how much you can sell your ad space for. And in the last 18 months, ad value on TV has gone through the floor. So
Yeah.
I would imagine a fair bit of this value is down to that. But still.
Yeah, there'll be a good chunk of this is due to the economy, and they've reevaluated in a down point of the economy, which is obviously going to hurt them more. But yes,
I'm also curious if their TV networks includes Max.
possibly.
Because if it includes Max, I see where they may have over-egged their value.
Yeah, it possibly does.
But still not good.
Yeah.
Speaking of not good.
We're just on a roll here.
Yeah. Borderlands has debuted with 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, with the score reaching 3% on Rotten Tomatoes at the time of writing. So when I was writing this 3 hours ago at this point, I checked Rotten Tomatoes. It had 33 reviews and a 3% on Rotten Tomatoes critic score. I have seen people say that Madam Web is no longer the worst film they've seen this year. I do struggle to believe that. What I will say is, when this film was announced, I was very excited because I enjoyed Borderlands. And then I saw the cast and I was much less excited. Then I saw the trailer and I was even less excited. And this needs to be noted, in the time since that trailer came out, the situation in Palestine has worsened, and Jamie Lee Curtis has been outed as a bit of a Zionist, which will hurt ticket sales. Jack Black has cut ties with a great friend of 30 years, and for the first time in my life, the internet is not a big fan of Jack Black at the minute, and he's a massive part of this film. And based on what I'm hearing, and these are of course just rumours, it seems like the original script was actually phenomenal for this. Then they hired a director who didn't want to follow the original script, made changes, casted people much older than he should have, and changed the script through his direction so much that the writer of the script originally has asked for their name to be removed.
I think also
So we're still going to see it, yeah, Harry?
I've also seen the fact that, like, and we probably said this back when the trailer came out, and we've said this with every video game adaptation, it's a fine line of getting references and too much of like oh, this is a video game, like this was in the game. Like, do that too much, it just becomes across as cheesy and like very 2000s.
By the sounds of it, they've gone the other way of just like, oh, it's Borderlands, and it's not.
Well, yeah, well, this is the thing. The other, what I've seen is they've gone trying to be a good reference of it, but then also it's like, this isn't R-rated, so all the gory and like comedy from the Borderlands games that we all love, they can't do. So they've tried to just throw in like references in other ways, and it's just like that just comes across as cheesy and too forced. And yeah, it's
really sad because we were genuinely both believing that video games were finally going to get the love on
we were
TV
on a good
and
streak.
cinema. We were on such a good streak.
I'll be honest.
I don't think that like The Last of Us and Fallout were outliers, but I think they just proved that you still need to get the right people in the right place for it
I'll
to
be honest,
work.
from the trailer, I would say that Jack Black's Claptrap looked great. I was like, okay, that part looks great. They may have nailed that. The other stuff, I was like, seems so. We'll see. But yeah, this just kind of.
But I also think while Borderlands does have a very rich universe of lore, the style of Borderlands comedy, I'm just not convinced would like work well on the big screen. I might like it if they did it really well on the big screen, but I feel like a lot of people wouldn't like that style of comedy on the big screen.
Yeah, I think it could work. Obviously, it'd have to be R-rated. I also actually think a big thing of Borderlands is its art style, and you lose that going. You just lose that going live action.
If people respected animation more, Borderlands is perfect for animated.
Yeah, you could do an amazing Borderlands animated film.
But people don't respect animation enough to pay for a video game IP to make a film of and then animate it.
Yeah.
Which sucks. Respect animation more and respect the animators who make it. We stand with them.
Speaking of respecting animators, screw the people that leaked all the Netflix animated stuff that's coming out. Like those people
Oh, I
worked.
didn't see that.
Yeah, so a bunch
But
of
we won't
Netflix.
discuss if it was leaked against.
Basically, Netflix had a big leak. Bunch of the animated shows that are upcoming, such as Arcane 2, that obviously lots of people have worked very hard on towards a release date. Bunch of shit got spoiled.
That's dreadful.
And then you get your Twitter account sharing it. Yeah. So. Warner Brothers.
That's infuriating. Yes, I think this is good news, although it will be concerning for some people, and I understand why.
Also depends on their valuation as well.
Yeah. Warner Brothers says they're looking into licensing their franchises to game studios outside their own. So Warner Brothers do have a game studio. So I imagine them game studios might be a little bit nervous about this, because this is the kind of thing you do if you're maybe getting ready to shut down a division, which I hope isn't the case. I hope Warner Brothers just going, we've got a lot of really strong IPs, and we can't expect we don't want to make our game studio so big that they can work on all of these, so we're going to start licensing these out. Request number 1. The Flash. Give me a Flash video game right fucking now. Yesterday. Developers, I respect you and I know you need time. I need this game yesterday.
Do you know what this also feels like? What's an easier way to get a valuation back? Increase the size of your game studio that potentially will be making a bit of a loss, which then isn't looking good. Or you sell the license to your IPs to other studios, and then you go, oh, look at this.
And licensing agreements for IPs are incredibly valuable.
Especially if you're Warner Brothers and it's superheroes.
Well, I'm not saying it's Batman necessarily, but just Batman as a baseline. You could probably license that out for like $10 million, $50 million flat fee, and then go, and we also get 35% of the revenue. And if the game doesn't sell this amount, you lose the licensing straight away, and you still have to pay us the money, and then we can go and license it to someone else straight away. Whereas normally with a licensing agreement, it might be a 5-year licensing agreement, and we won't sell it to anyone else in that time, which means you'll have exclusive rights to Batman games.
Yeah, I mean,
like there's lots of money in licensing,
it's a safer option for them.
Yeah, absolutely. They have nothing to risk. If they go out there and they just go, right, what superheroes is obviously like the easiest to make a game for, easiest. If they go out there and they license off Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash, and go like, you can go make a trilogy of each of these games, that they can get like maybe up to 500 million in the bank, without any risk.
Yeah.
And if it goes wrong, they've already got like the upfront fee, and they can just license them to someone else.
I mean, also this sets them up for knowing that James Gunn's DCU, he wants to venture into games and animated and have the voice actors and stuff be the same. This allows them to have more games in development for that if it's expanding and stuff.
Absolutely. Blue Beetle game, Booster Gold game, give it to me. Give it to me all now. Yesterday.
Imagine a Lanterns MMO.
Oh, that would be so well.
You could pick what faction you're part of.